Good evening and welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated first on 93 WIBC. A lot of stuff to dive into this evening, so without further ado, let's tackle it. There has been an enormous, really just an unnecessary amount of outrage, panic, anguish, screaming in the streets, screaming on social media, just screaming in general, all because Elon Musk, the owner of SpaceX, the guy who is, again, came over from South Africa with next to nothing, stayed in very, very dumpy places, and made a lot of very good decisions. And then today, the SpaceX IPO opened up, and things did really well. He is now a trillionaire because of business and engineering and science decisions that he has made. And as weird as it is for me to start off by saying, here's kind of my sourcing from this. Do not take my word for it. Of all people, back when he was still on the left, Elon Musk got invited to a lot of different late night talk shows with funny men. And Jimmy Kimmel made it quite clear how Elon did his little financial path to the kind of stuff that he's doing today.
Some of your many accomplishments, just for the audience, in case they're not familiar with them. In 1983, at age 12, you designed a video game and sold it to a computer magazine for $500. 1995,
big money for a 12-year-old.
You quit the graduates program at Stanford to found Zip2. In 1999, you sold Zip2 to Compaq for $309 million. You co-founded PayPal in 2000. You sold PayPal to eBay for $1.5 billion. You founded SpaceX. You co-founded Tesla Motors. You helped create Solar City, the solar power company. Well, it's great to meet you. If you want to watch the launch, why wouldn't you want to watch the launch?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is back in February 21st of 2013. That's when that episode aired on ABC. So what changed? Well, Elon didn't like the direction that the left were taking, and while he made some personal political decisions, he also continued growing his businesses. Essentially, here's the Elon Musk model. He would develop something that people wanted, and then when it would gain traction, and true to many who have autism or ADHD, they get bored. They get bored with the thing that they're working on, and then in Elon's case, he would sell it, and then he would use the funds to do newer, cooler things. And as others have pointed out, industry experts in both tech, in chemical engineering, regarding battery technology for the Tesla, regarding computer sciences, regarding space flight, whatever it may be, Elon Musk is known for wanting some kind of goal. And then after he decides he's going to pursue that goal, he then does all of the backfill. He goes in behind the scenes and he does whatever he can to keep trying and trying and trying until that vision becomes a reality. I mean, this actually used to be a character that was portrayed on Friends as kind of the Bill Gatesy guy that played by, Jon Favreau, that Monica was dating. And he was like, I wanted to do this, and so I did everything in my power to do the thing. And that is what eventually led for, in this case, in real life, Elon Musk reaching the $1 trillion mark. Now, of course, this isn't the Jimmy Kimmel clip that everyone's playing. Jimmy Kimmel last night decided to go off on Elon Musk and say, well, some rather different stuff.
Tomorrow, SpaceX will reportedly launch the biggest IPO in history. An IPO is when a private company starts selling shares to the public for the first time. And once SpaceX does that, Elon Musk is expected to become the first ever trillionaire in the history of the world. I'll hold for applause. Okay. And
he's trying to be funny. Now, what should be noted here is that not only did Elon Musk gain an enormous amount of investment from the public, those dollars that went into SpaceX today, those aren't just magically his. They are in the company. That is an investment for SpaceX to develop more things. It is not as though Elon Musk unzipped his pocket and everyone just threw heaping piles of flaming hot money into his pocket, never to be seen again. Now, if he blows all of that money, meaning that SpaceX tries a bunch of things and fails, people will then sell their shares and the stock value will deplete per share. That's how it works. That's how investment works. And it is not Elon Musk who had the greatest percentage gain today in his net worth. It's not. Elon Musk does have 42% equity and 85% voting rights post-IPO. However, even though he controls 84% of the global launch market, of this 2002 company that almost went bankrupt in 2008. It is over 4,000 employees, plumbers, welders, basic IT technicians, advanced IT technicians. The guys sitting there with their cameras, trying to get close-up shots of the rocket before they exploded. Yes, there was a special kind of photographer that was hired by SpaceX just to take really well-timed slow-motion photography before failed experiments. Not big media. Average, regular people. By the way, some of whom I interviewed way back during my chalkboard review days. Teachers who moved to the little SpaceX site before it was an official town in Texas. And during the COVID era, operated a private school for those employees. Not rich executive for Elon Musk, but for the average everyday people working in that company. Those people today who were given shares in that company became multimillionaires today. Went from net worths of 120,000 to a net worth of 3.5, 4.8, 5.2 million dollars. That is an incredible leap forward in wealth. And this has made the left very, 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 very angry. We'll let Jimmy Kimmel continue. Again, a man who's worth $100 million. He's very, very upset, very envious, very bitter.
What makes that even more unsettling is this man, our first trillionaire, the richest man in the world, is also one of the weirdest people we've ever seen on this planet. This obscenely wealthy weirdo has the ability and means to...
Again, look, I don't have any issue with someone pointing out that Elon Musk is weird. Yes, Elon Musk is eccentric and weird. For number one, as I've just said, the dude's autistic. But just because... I'm sorry, do you think that if Jimmy Kimmel was criticizing that one show on network TV about the autistic surgeon... Do you think if Jim's like, well, he's just a weirdo, people would point out, what are you making fun of the guy? Just like, he has a special talent, though, in fact, he is rather different. And yeah, Musk is clearly on the spectrum, but all right, we've gotten the weirdo joke in. I get it.
Blow up the moon if he chooses, and also to put a lot of other people's money in his pockets. You know, SpaceX, it will enter the stock market so highly valued, a lot of 401ks will get triggered to invest in it automatically. That's how.
Do you catch what he's trying to do there? He's saying some of your 401ks are going to trigger automatically some of the investment groups that you have, you know, maybe Vanguard or Morningstar or other investment firms. It may automatically trigger these certain ranges that invest in certain NASDAQ stock listings. It may automatically do what? Put your money in his pocket. He's stealing from everyone. This is the narrative that's being played. Right up front, again, I know I normally hold off on some of the analysis until a little bit later. This is not a closed loop system. This is not he's just going to take the money and run. First of all, Elon's never done that with any of the properties that he's pushed into. Now, he has used some properties to boost other properties. He has generated incredible amounts of wealth. That's not suggesting that makes him morally righteous or evil. That's not suggesting that makes him incredibly smart or stupid. He has, by the means of his decisions and his investments, generated brand new incredible amounts of wealth. One of these that's the most tangible is Starlink, the satellite-provided internet service that has revolutionized not only geopolitics during internet outages, not only revolutionized the journalism industry, it's revolutionized the airline industry. It's revolutionized communications as we know it. And in SpaceX, which launched today in its IPO, 84% of all US space launches right now, and the vast majority on planet Earth of flights that go to the International Space Station, but 84% of all flights in general that are taking off via the Earth's surface to the atmosphere and beyond into space, that would be SpaceX. That would be Elon Musk's company. In a way that even, Jeff Bezos throwing tons of money and Katy Perry at it can't match. So who's losing their ever-loving minds today? Well, of course, we go to the left's only policy proposals they have. So the left is running this year for the midterms. And I have said before, they have nothing they are pitching. They're mad at Donald Trump. And that's pretty much it. There's a couple of things that they have suggested, and they mostly come from, in fact, 99% of the policy proposals the left is bringing into Congress right now are these super socialist proposals. We're going to give to everyone, you're going to have free stuff, and we're going to attack the billionaires and the oligarchy, and we're going to shake them back and forth like Graham Platner with a girlfriend. And then we're going to give you the money. And me, also lots of money, Bernie Sanders. Give me more money. Another lake house. We're going to get into that over on the live stream radio crew. Take care in the commercial break. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. So up front, with a somewhat questionably Native American welterweight, the outrage of a menopausal leftist lady, Elizabeth Warren. She's mad. She does well, I'm in my car. I'm an influencer, and I'm mad. Here's Elizabeth Warren clutching the pearls.
Elon Musk is officially the world's first trillionaire.
Oh.
Think about that. We're living at a time when more and more people are just hanging on by their fingernails to survive in this economy.
Not true. I'm sorry, not true. The average American is, in fact, far more wealthy based on the economic data, not even right-wing economic data, not even independent economic data. You say, well, the gap of wealth disparity is large. The average point of poverty in the United States right now is far higher. It is far easier to purchase food and basic amenities than at any time, not only in the United States history, in world history. So that the average idea of a standard of living is what was at one time in this country considered a far above middle class standard of living. That's what she's freaking out of. We'll let her go like an angry Yorkie here for a minute.
And Elon Musk has more money and more wealth than anyone in human history. I want to be clear. This is not just some fluke. It is a feature of a rigged economy.
No, it's a feature of a man making good decisions. It's a feature of a man. I mean, when he came over to the United States, and Jimmy Kimmel also said, well, his father's emerald mine. Elon Musk came over here dirt poor. He lived in the most garbage, awful, crime-ridden, flea bag apartments in existence in this country. And is just turned over good investment after good investment. And there's Elizabeth Warren with either her staff or driving, or as one of the comments pointed out, with some Uber driver shuttling her around, Your Majesty, so that she can suggest the economy is rigged.
Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill cut healthcare for millions of Americans to give guys like Elon bigger tax breaks. The tax code rewards CEOs for firing workers and replacing them with AI.
No, it doesn't. It does not. In fact, there are a lot of companies right now that are pulling back on AI use because so many of the employees that were told to use AI for everything, which, by the way, I say this lovingly, that is a very American way. Whenever there is something new, we'll take, literally the Flex Seal commercials are just about how you can use it for everything. The American infomercial in general is about, we have this new technology, stick it on boats, a car, your cat, your finances, your marriage, flex tape. This is how so her suggestion here is that, well, CEOs fired all of their workers and replaced them with AI. Guys, AI is in fact still expensive when you use it for everything. When you use it for everything. So a lot of companies are pulling back. And there are no tax breaks that she's talking about here. Tax breaks for using AI over hiring employees.
Loopholes have allowed Jeff Bezos to pay an effective tax rate lower than a Boston public school teacher. And we are left with a country where a handful of billionaires at the top pop champagne in their $300 million yachts, while working people take on even more shifts to try to pay off their student loan debt.
So from her perch in the Senate, where of course she's lying over the amount of taxes Elon Musk is paying, from her perch in the Senate, has she ever changed the tax code? Nope. She has, along with Nancy Pelosi over on the House side, along with Senate Democrats, have spent their massive amounts of time in the House and in the Senate enriching themselves off of not good business decisions, but the taxpayer dime. You are directly paying Elizabeth Warren's salary. You're not directly paying Elon Musk's salary. Those who want to buy things from Elon Musk are paying Elon Musk's salary. And she does the same, by the way. She released another big, bold, exciting take today that was just, bless her heart, very, very special. Elon Musk became the worst trillionaire. The typical American household would have to work more than 11 million years to make Elon Musk's level of wealth. We got to bring the radio crew back in. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal.
The Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
So we're losing it. We're in full panic. We have decided to make the 2026 midterms about protecting really awful candidates, and we're going to get to that in a bit. And on the left side of the aisle, we're going to go all in on screaming that we need to tax everyone forever. Lots of taxation for everyone. This is the plan, because you need things. So Elizabeth Warren, as we were just covering, has suggested that the average American household could never, ever, ever amass super duper ultra amounts of wealth. Again, you can literally see the documentaries are out there. The number of articles are out there documenting Elon Musk inventing incredible things. We've literally tracked the progress of how he went from founding PayPal. That was one of his idea. He was the co-founder of PayPal, and then later sold it to eBay for big amounts of money. Because eBay decided we can make more money over the next 20 years owning PayPal. So we're going to pay Elon Musk over $1 billion for it. Then Elon Musk took and he funneled it into the next thing. And again, you don't just have to see Elizabeth Warren freaking out about this kind of thing. Here's Pramila Jayapal doing her same angry socialist drivel.
All right, everybody. This week, apparently Elon Musk is going to become a trillionaire. That's total bullshit. Nobody should be a trillionaire. Right now, we've got way too much wealth concentrated with the tiniest group of people. And what we need to do is tax the wealth. That's exactly why I've got a bill that does just that.
I just for the record here, I truly, deeply, sincerely hate whenever we do the influencer. Hey guys, I'm sitting down and hey guys, it's Congressman Pimple here to tell you that one of my staffers and future baristas has compiled a list of things that I'm reading out when I'm not looking at the camera. And I hate that. I can't stand it. Quit doing fake influencery garbage. And by the way, it doesn't just have to be there. I mean, again, we saw with Elizabeth Warren, the same thing. I'm in the car. I'm out walking around. Oh, hey, I didn't see you there. Did you guys know that bad people are bad and that I'm really good? Give me money. Yeah, that kind of crap. I'm sick. This is their plan. This is their big move heading into the next election cycle. So again, this entire argument, we've seen it from Ro Khanna as well. He says Elon Musk is making more than South Africa's gross domestic product. As though I wake up every morning and go, gee, I sure hope no one's making more than South Africa. The United States does incredibly at generating wealth because this is the greatest country on the face of the planet. And it just so happens that the system that the United States built and maintains generates more wealth, has lifted more people out of poverty, single-handedly rebuilt the entire world after World War II via the Marshall Plan. And even the Soviet Union could not have made it through World War II without the United States pumping endless amount of money and arms and material into it while we were busy recovering from a Great Depression ourselves. We need to tax all of the wealth. It's never worked once. And by the way, just for the record, to make this clear, on the argument that Musk isn't paying any taxes, the man does pay more taxes than any other person in the country. Now, Bernie Sanders has suggested that he pays the same amount of Social Security tax as someone who makes just under $200,000. Well, that's true, but to be completely clear here, your Social Security tax has a lock point just under $200,000, meaning that no one has to pay more a year on Social Security tax. Like if you make $1 billion, you don't have to pay millions and millions into Social Security tax. That doesn't make any sense. But here's Elon Musk on the amount of taxes that he does pay each and every year.
Please don't call the manager on me, Senator Karen.
She called me a freeloader and a grifter who doesn't pay taxes, basically. And I'm literally paying the most tax that any individual in history has ever paid this year, ever. And she doesn't pay taxes, basically at all. And her salary is paid for by the taxpayer.
Now, by the way, in 2021, we don't have the numbers for this last year, at least in front of me. In 2021, Elon Musk paid $11 billion in taxes. Gee, I wonder how many family households it would take to pay $11 billion in taxes. Now, again, does that make him moral? No. Does that make him virtuous? No. Does that make him God? No. But the idea that you're somehow entitled to someone's money because you're angry at them. That's, by the way, that's what this all comes down to. They're just angry that Elon Musk exists. They're angry that anyone exists with money. It doesn't matter. They'll get out there, they'll lie about you and what you've accomplished and what you've done. Here was AOC doing this in February of last year.
Elon Musk is not a scientist. He is not an engineer. He is a billionaire con man with a lot of money.
Hey, how did he get those billions of dollars? By learning to be an engineer, by learning to be a scientist. Quite famously, there is a video of Elon Musk showing individuals around SpaceX. And one guy who was walking around with the press pool asks Elon a question about changing a small mechanical part of the rocket's internal components. And it was Elon Musk, not one of his staffers off to the side, who stopped, cocked his head, and looked at the rocket and said, I've never thought about that. And then explained the next day how that guy was right and how they were going to be incorporating that design. That was Musk. Who also, by the way, just because you hire people who are good at what they do, Producer Daniel works for me because he is exceptionally good at his job. Producer Jen is exceptionally good at her job. Producer Lou, Producer Josiah is a phenomenal video editor. They would not be working for me if they weren't good at what they did. I don't know where this idea comes that we are required to hire incompetent people just because the left nominated Ketanji Brown Jackson to the Supreme Court and proved that you can put a stupid person anywhere. Doesn't mean that I have to surround myself with stupid people. If I wanted to surround myself with stupid people, I'd be living in San Francisco.
He does not have this kind of good background.
Again, it's all about the background. See, if you grew up poor, which Elon Musk did, by the way, but if you grew up poor and you have no money, then that means you're good. And if you grow up and you're a person of color, that means you're good. And if you're white, or if you're a Christian, or if you're a Jew, or if you're Asian, then you're bad, and we can't let you into Harvard because that's what turns you into success. No, not even the slightest. Tim Walz, you may remember, during the 2024 campaign, I don't even have any context. Here you go. Here's his iPhone app.
Saying on my phone, I don't know, some of you know this on the iPhone, they've got that little stock app. I added Tesla to it to give me a little boost during the day. 225 and dropping.
By the way, it's doing a lot better now. And I think this was after the 2024 election. This was also last year.
So, and
is that actually about Tesla? Because they all loved Teslas before Elon Musk said, man, I mean, things are getting really, if you're not on the super far left, then you're called a Nazi in this country, and I don't like it. That's, of course, that is why they hate him. Again, the number of those on the left who are screaming and crying about Tom Steyer in California and all of his billions of dollars couldn't buy him the gubernatorial primary, couldn't even get him to the runoff. And George Soros, they never complain about George Soros. They only started complaining about Jeffrey Bezos of Amazon after Bezos said that he was willing to work with the Trump administration in developing economic assets. And this you get into like super nutcase territory here. We'll get to Graham Platner and Gavin Newsom and Zoran Mamdani in a minute. John Favreau, one of Obama's speechwriters, one of the lefty podcasters. Listen to him. This is how he frames this. Elon Musk held up a chainsaw, fed USAID into the wood chipper, and at least 600,000 people have already died as a result. 2/3 of them are children. Now, radio crew, I will send you guys over to the commercial break. But while we're gone, try not to be as incredibly stupid and dishonest as the Pod Save America bros. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. The actual word for Favreau there, that Elon Musk somehow single-handedly killed 600,000 people, that's retarded. You have the brain virus. It has ruined you. It's ruined you. I used to think that was only reserved for The View and Jennifer Welch. No, there's a lot of people with it these days. So before we move on, again, Zoran Mamdani, Gavin Newsom, Graham Platner, however, in true Mein Führer fashion, said Elon Musk just became the world's first trillionaire. Let's make sure he's also the last. Yep, that's about right. Very National Socialist of you, my dude. The up against the wall strategy from the man who, again, has a messaging account that's well, I mean, you know, sure, it's on the premier site for messaging little girls, but you know, In the meantime, there's also significant outrage and panic and pearl clutching and fire and lions and tigers and bears, oh my, all over the UFC ring. That's right. The White House has built a UFC boxing ring, just to celebrate the 250th year. Little celebration style stuff. And the left is losing their mind over it. And I'm not entirely sure why we're flipping out and losing our minds over this. Essentially, whenever it comes to Donald Trump or whenever it comes to Elon Musk, the left is suggesting that anything that they're doing is innately corrupt and evil and awful just because they don't like their politics. I've never thought that Stephen Colbert gaining money over on the left, I never thought that was evil. I just disagree with him, and I think he's a skeezy dude. Now, he also lost his show a lot of money, but there's nothing wrong with him earning money. But again, I'm going to pan ahead a little bit here. The argument now is that because the UFC, which by the way is paying for this whole construction, all of the event, they're like $60 million, because the UFC is recouping some of those losses on just shelling out $60 million for an event in front of the White House, the leftists are saying, "Oh, this is corrupt. It's deeply evil. I mean, clearly this is the worst, most evil thing I've ever heard of."
He poisoned our water supply, burned our crops, and delivered a plague unto our houses.
And then Americans look around and go, wait, did Elon Musk, did Donald Trump do any of those things?
He did? No, but are we just gonna wait around until he does?
The left really is a walking meme. And yet again, case in point, here's Mazie Hirono flipping out, suggesting that because the UFC paid $60 million to host an event at the White House and covered all of the funding, all of the staffing, all of the resources, all the materials, all the everything, this is really bad for grocery prices or something.
You know what really aggravates me? I mean, to celebrate the 250th anniversary.
You know what really aggravates me? Where have I heard that before?
You know what really grinds my gears?
Okay, anyway, Maisie, continue.
Of our country's freedom. He's actually building a fight ring or whatever it is right next to the White House, of which he destroyed half of it. He destroyed half of the White House so that he can build his stupid ballroom. He thinks the rest of us are just as excited about a fight ring to celebrate 250 years of our freedoms as he is. No, Mr. President, we are not. We want prices to go down. We want this illegal, unjustified war to end. We want you to do your effing job.
Oh, so stunning and brave. So stunning and brave. We got to bring the radio crew back from the commercial. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on The Daily Signal.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
So we're mad about Elon Musk. We're mad about the UFC fight ring. Oh man, we're so outraged. How could he allow a popular American sporting halftime to take place in front of the White House? It was so much better when Biden hosted an event where people attempted to sell sex toys and a dude pretending to be a woman took his top off and shook his fake breasts about. Yeah, that's, I mean, if we're going to talk American, that's clearly far more, worthwhile. What could be more un-American and evil than fighting? Mixed martial arts, boxing, wrestling. Oh, the horror. It's not like we literally had a president of the United States who built a boxing ring in the White House and fought people. The president, you could show up and fight the president, and Teddy Roosevelt would beat you within an inch of your life for free. I'm going to guess, by the way, that Teddy Roosevelt did not pay out of his own pocket to build that boxing ring. I'm going to take a wild stab that probably the White House paid for that at the time. Selective outrage. It is here, and it is having a great time. And now we get to the racialist side of the party, because again, there's so much outrage. Everyone's so upset all the time. And this, yes, brings us over to Karmelo Anthony, because a young man who stabbed another young man in the heart and who died, getting 35 years in prison. The jury, a diverse jury, not to, skip ahead and spoil anything here. We've already covered this on the show. Said, yeah, he killed him, committed murder, stabbed him right in the heart, not self-defense. Well, we have decided to just announce, not only, as we said yesterday, the podcasters on the left saying it's time, black people of the United States, to go back to Africa. We're also suggesting, Don Lemon and failed comedian and sitcom producer, writer, actor, D.L. Hewley, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, they're saying that they struck the 3 black jurors. On purpose. I have 2 attorneys coming up that are going to talk about that.
By the way, both attorneys agreed to the jury. Both the defense and the prosecution agreed to the jury. So I know that their little activist lawyer who looks and talks like Ron Funches is out here trying to suggest that, it was really... My dude, you agreed to the jury. But anywho.
But yeah, it was an all-white jury. And
No, not true. And one of the reasons that Don Lemon is no longer on network TV is because that would get you seriously fined on the FCC Spectrum airwaves. You can't do that. Nope, not an all-white jury at all, unless we're suddenly counting Asian and Hispanic people as white. I knew it was only a matter of time.
Again, death is tragic, as you said.
Sure.
And nobody's wishing anything upon, anything bad upon the family of sadly, the young man who died.
But
you have
nobody wishes death on anyone, but
kids. You 17-year-olds make horrible decisions.
Right.
I'm not saying that they should not be accountable.
I made some bad decisions as a 17-year-old. You know what I didn't do? Commit murder. Yep. Kind of neat. A lot of you, I know there's a lot of people who watch this show who are young. A lot of you who watch the show who are advanced in age. But at the age of 17, I'm going to take a wild guess that you also probably didn't murder people. I'm the left podcast sphere. Again, this is the year that, why am I talking about all of this? The outrage and the panic sets the stage for what motivates the election cycle. Donald Trump won because of 2 things. Number 1, because Biden died and Kamala was awful. Number 2, Donald Trump won because Kamala went all in on the LGBTQ plus 2IA, the gayest nonsense. And Donald Trump and the American people who were outraged over the transing of the children and the hospitals that falsified data to mutilate children and sterilize them, who forced counselors, teachers, principals to hide gender transitions from the children's own parents that would later go on to commit suicide or become mutilated. Americans' outrage drove the culture section of that election cycle. Democrats have decided for the midterm, which is a far worse game to play on the outrage cycle, have decided that we're going to go all in on the white people are bad. The white people, the bad. Okay, excellent, exciting. Angela Wright, other various left-wing podcaster, go.
This was always about race.
No.
It was always about race.
No.
It was always about race the moment that a black boy had the nerve to protect himself against a white aggressor.
Okay, so if I go into a predominantly black neighborhood and I go up to a group of, I take out a knife or a gun after I'm shoved and I shoot or stab one of them and he dies, guess what? The narrative isn't going to be about, just a nice guy just out there. Oh, he just protecting himself. No, not at all. Sorry, I realized the YouTube crew had to drop in and refresh stuff there. The people who are making this about race are those who want to make everything about race.
It was always about race. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice at ever hopefully changing this system if we cannot acknowledge that.
Do you know who made the Daniel Penny, the veteran who, by the way, protected an entire New York subway car? When a homeless man started acting insane and threatening people, and after Daniel Penny defended that car full of subway, it was people like and including, what do you know? Angela Rye, who got out there and said this was somehow white supremacy on the part of Daniel Penny. The same group of people who are making it about race are always making it about race. Always, always, always. Now, last thing, I think it would be good for you at the end of the week here. We are actually now getting some audio out from Austin Metcalf, the Austin Metcalf's father, the father of the young man who was murdered by Karmelo Anthony. Here's what he had to say. He wants the video of the stabbing, of which I'm told there is one, to go public. He wants people to see it.
Yes, I've seen the video. I've seen the video for a long time ago. I've known about the video for a long time. I can't comment since the gag order. The video clearly shows the conversation lasted less than 10 seconds. That's it. There was no 4-on-1. To be honest, I'd love for it to be.
By the way, do you know why the conflict lasting 10 seconds? Do you know why that matters here? Because the narrative that the defense tried to put up was that all of these white boys suddenly started descending, you know, like Knicks fans on someone wearing a Spurs jersey after a particular game in a particular city. Anyway, descended and started, you know, they started beating on him and saying, this is MAGA country. And then Jesse Smollett brought out a Subway sandwich. No, 10 seconds. There was one hand. It was like, dude, get out of here. You're not supposed to be over here. It's a track event. You're not supposed to be over here. It's like a locker room. Go to your own school's tent. Why are you over here antagonizing people? Get out of here. And then Karmelo stabs him. It wasn't a long, drawn-out affair.
Put out so I could go, look, if you weren't in the courtroom or if you don't know, here's the video. Quit spreading your bull. He wasn't jumped. There was no 4-on-1. He wasn't surrounded. Look at the video. There's a shove and there's a stab, and it's over.
I also, again, do I want to see the video? No, I find watching those kind of videos awful. But for the record, do we need the receipt? Absolutely. Absolutely. Radio crew, we're going to send you guys to the commercial break. We're going to continue on the live stream here. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated, first on 93 WIBC. All right, welcome to our live stream crew while the radio crew is away. We do try to make it, for those who tune in live at 7 p.m. each night, a little easier, and we're trying to keep all of the ads and things away, other than maybe a sponsorship read, so that it's easier for you guys to watch the show. It would help us out tremendously if you liked the video, if you subscribed on our YouTube, youtube.com/dailysignal. And there's this little bell next to the subscribe button. That also helps us out tremendously. Now, I know that some of you have suggested printing out a picture of my face, my devilishly handsome face, my very gorgeous
Brother, this guy stinks!
and you were going to print it out and staple it on telephone poles. You can do that. I don't recommend that. That's weird. But liking and subscribing is a lot easier, and we do appreciate that. So that brings us to the next thing that we're outraged over. The Southern Poverty Law Center and, of course, Act Blue, which is, again, Act Blue, the Democrats' primary voting platform donation, their donation platform. You donate to a little of the old Act Blue app, and then they distribute that to the candidate. Well, they're in trouble because a Democrat committee member decided during the week in the committees to openly advertise and call for people to go donate to Act Blue during a committee, which is extra illegal.
Hey, you can't park there.
You can't do that. Number two, the left is extremely outraged over the hearings over the Southern Poverty Law Center, which the more that we find out in this lawsuit, in which they were, if you tried, I played a Family Guy clip a little bit ago. If Family Guy played a cutaway scene where Peter Griffin was working for the SPLC and purchased an order for a bunch of white hoods and crosses to burn and like booked a venue for a rally, that would not be considered funny. That would be considered way too on the nose and like too far-fetched. The comedy wouldn't work there. But that is exactly what we were finding out from the actual SPLC investigation. They propped up, they planned for, they paid and staffed a huge portion of actual white supremacist groups to just gin up a bunch of racial angst so they could go raise money while individuals are being stabbed in ways that don't fit that narrative, and then suggest actually it's the white people that are the problem. So one of the champions on this, on the SPLC has been the, Jamie Raskin. And he's very mad that Donald Trump said he should be thrown out of Congress, which he absolutely should be, by the way, at very, very least perjured.
Jamie Raskin, a loser in life, who worked endlessly during my first term to impeach me and failed miserably, wasting the country's money, time, blah, 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 blah. And at the end he says, expel the bum.
Okay, first of all, we succeeded in impeaching him. We passed an impeachment resolution.
Yep, exactly.
It was 232 to 198 for his incitement of a violent insurrection against the Union.
Well, he has problems with math.
And over in the Senate side, he's got problems with math too, because it was a 57 to 43 to convict him. He was very proud of that, brandishing the newspaper, because only 57 of 100 senators voted to convict him of mounting and inciting a violent insurrection against his own government. There's an easy.
Best of luck with this. Best of luck with the whatever you call that. Heading into the midterms. Good luck, buddy. We're going to bring the radio crew back one more time. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. That's right, a little more outrage. That's genuinely what's flooding the airwaves this evening. So instead, you get a little summary of what everyone's yelling about, and then you don't have to sit on your phone and doom scroll and watch people yelling and screaming and whatever. You can go have a wonderful weekend. That's what we do for you here on the Tony Kinnett Cast. So before we get over to some of the mail time stuff, before we get over to a very good piece of news about Congress and a convention of states, I want to share just a bit over the next big panic point. The World Cup is being hosted in the United States, and there are a lot of people from Europe, from South America, from Africa, from the Middle East, from Asia that are coming to the United States. Now, we've been talking about this World Cup being here for a long time, because whoever got to be the president in the 2025 to 2029 term would get to host a whole number of huge events, not just America's 250th anniversary, but the World Cup for 2026. And what we have seen over the last couple of days, we played a huge montage of these clips yesterday, are Europeans, and again, Africans, Asians, Middle Easterners, Oceanics, whatever, and South Americans who've been coming into the country, and they have been gobsmacked, dead open mouth astounded at how awesome the United States of America is. And they have been so astounded at this country. They are filming themselves outside of Buc-ee's. They're filming themselves at like high school and college stadiums where you're seeing huge flyovers, and they're loving the country. As they should, by the way. It's a phenomenal place. So, of course, this means that the media, the legacy media, has to throw a 100% childish toddler fit about it. And it all starts with a column from Nancy Armour at USA Today, whose newspapers all across the country are losing hemorrhaging subscribers because it's a garbage series of publications. She has decided to come out and say, the United States has already lost the World Cup with its greed and its hostility. It's so sad. It's greed. These poor Europeans, they don't understand how awful America is. Nancy, leave, buy, go somewhere else, anywhere else. I'll pay for the plane ticket. It will be one way. By all means, if you hate it here so much, and again, you can see another sports columnist also confused why there are so many people. And this, by the way, this clip, this is on CNN. This isn't CNN's fault. CNN has covered quite extensively this week, for the record, a lot of the Europeans and the Africans and the Middle Easterners and the Asians who have come over to this country who have been thrilled. They're like, no one told us it was this good. They told us it was evil. It was hell. At the very best, it was purgatory. So here's the columnist invited on to CNN expressing some confusion.
The World Cup, as we all know, a major cultural eye-opener for so many fans traveling to North America to watch all of this.
It's also the #1 sporting event where people figure out some wear bikini tops to their country's representative matches. That's not important. I just thought you should be aware of that.
including here in the United States. There's a German fan whose name is Freddie, who has gained a massive following online as he has tweeted about discovering quintessential American staples, including Bass Pro Shop, Buc-ee's, and Waffle House.
Now, you can hear Wolf Blitzer there. Not exactly a guy on the right. He's smiling. It's so hard as an American not to appreciate this. Because you have been told for years and years and years, your country has no culture. It's just a bunch of garbage trash that deserves to be stomped over and replaced, and you should be ashamed of it. And it's so commercialized and it's so awful. And yet, when people come over here, they're amazed by the bounty that we're supposed to be ashamed of instead of grateful for.
Talk to me a little bit about the importance of sports in giving people a glimpse into American culture.
Now, this is an easy one. As the national correspondent for the Daily Signal, when a softball question like this comes up, oh man. So you do what are called talking points, by the way. Whenever you go into a big network hit like this, you have what are called talking points. That doesn't mean that you tell the network what to say. That means this is what I want to answer on this topic so that the anchor, like a Wolf Blitzer, can then best set me up. And the really talented ones, I'll say this because I was on CNN a couple weeks ago with Audie in the morning. She was good at setting me up, though she had some disdain for some of the things I'm saying based on some of the grimaces. She expertly set me up to answer some questions. Wolf Blitzer, right here, that is a softball toss. So this sports columnist here should be able to knock it out of the park. No.
That is so fun. That's the flip side of the conversation we were just having, is that these tourists are still coming, the ones who can, certainly Europeans, people who love soccer way more than the United States. It's been a part of their lives for ever. Where for us, as Coy was saying, it's a newer game on the women's and men's side. And so that I've looked at those tweets from him. Just he's having a delight, and Americans are loving that too. And I saw some conversation, Wolf and Pamela, about how the rest of the world is looking at the United States.
Here we go.
And feeling that we are it's a foreboding image and that we are inhospitable. And here.
Oh, it's so foreboding, inhospitable. The International Antifa account posted a picture, and I can't show it to you because YouTube really doesn't like this symbol, even if you're mocking the symbol. That they posted a picture of like the U.S. FIFA statue with a swastika in the middle of it. As like, oh, we got him.
Is a German tourist and others as well now on social media saying, no, the Americans are great. So what a shame that that's the image that the world has, many have of us, but how wonderful, again, that sports can bring people here and show people that the United States and the South is welcoming a German tourist in a way we would never have anticipated.
And thanks to
in a way we never would have anticipated. Excuse me. The South is very well known for being welcoming. Southern hospitality, and up here in the North, as the state which is called the North of the South, I know you guys wouldn't claim this, that's okay. In Indiana, Hoosier hospitality, that's a thing. That is a welcoming thing. We don't need cultural elitists in USA Today columns. Oh, we were so surprised that the South wasn't stringing them up by their toenails. The worst offender, though, is the BBC, who finished their excerpt with this whiny cuck of a man going, and of course I couldn't go on without whining to my wife's boyfriend about Donald Trump in the United States.
I can't finish without mentioning President Trump. Remember, he was given FIFA's first ever Peace Prize last year, not long before he started a war with Iran. Donald Trump has long sought to restrict who can come into America, and that's having consequences for this tournament.
Hey, remind me, how many people have been attempted beheaded here in the United States in the last couple of weeks, and how many have in the United Kingdom? What about shivved on the street and the police showed up and handcuffed the young man who was bleeding out? Talk about people that we're importing.
For example, Iran and Haiti face comprehensive restrictions introduced.
Gee, I wonder why. What, man? I wonder what could be going on in Iran and Haiti that we might vet who's coming into the country. Oh, that's a thinker.
Last year, players and staff are exempt, but not their fans. Somalia is also on that list. This is Somali referee Omar Artan. Last year, he was Men's Referee of the Year in Africa, but he's been denied entry. The US official says it was because of his association with suspected members of terror organizations.
I can answer this one. I can answer this one especially. So this particular individual from Somalia, Yes, we've known that he's had particular associations with various terror groups in Somalia, of which there are many, 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 for quite some time. In fact, we've known about the particular terror groups that this individual is associated with, not just like buddy, but maybe an active member of, like since back in 2017. Gee, howdy whiz. Why wouldn't you let him into the country? Whoa, what is it coming to when you won't even let a terrorist come officiate a match for the World Cup? Those dirty dogs in the USA. Very, very special. Very, very, very special indeed. And that brings us over to the last bit. Radio crew, we're going to send you out for the evening. Continue on the live stream, youtube.com/Daily Signal. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast. We'll see you guys on Monday. Take care. The last great moment of outrage. The superest and duperest of outrages. This boils down to voting in Congress. So Hakeem Jeffries, we haven't seen him in any of this. In fact, he hasn't been in the media a lot this week because he's been wearing his like brand new Knicks hat on air everywhere. But anywho, Hakeem Jeffries, he showed up to announce in an interview that Democrats are in like crisis mode because they think Republicans are going to rig the November election. You know, the thing you're not allowed to say about the California mayoral race, the California mayoral primary, you're not allowed to say there's something sketchy going on there, as they are now counting ballots on June the 12th. Anyway, here's Hakeem Jeffries saying it's all over and Republicans are going to like steal the country or something.
We believe that we have to operate under the assumption that Republicans are going to do everything they can to try to rig the midterm elections. Because the reality is they have no track record of accomplishment, no vision to present to the American people.
Okay, this is not going to work. As the House Minority Leader, you have to concede, as Democrats did, that the Trump administration, believe it or not, actually did get a couple of things through that were successful. These were supposed to be some of the lessons learned. Don't go so hard on the LGBTQ plus 2IA 8765 Jenny, call me number stuff. Don't go too hard there. Don't go too hard on the open borders. Everyone come in. We don't care if you're Maryland man who, you know, beats your wife and is a member of MS-13 and other stuff. Don't go too hard on being anti-police and pro-crime. Learn some lessons. Nope, not going to learn any lessons whatsoever. Now, there are a few Republican establishmentarians who are throwing hissy, whiny, complaining, grumpy toddler fits. And these include Tom Tillis, who we got a question about in the mail time that we'll get to. And, you know, again, I will say, John Cornyn, Mitch McConnell, well, a little less Mitch McConnell because he's not really conscious, is he? Susan Collins, a little bit, lesser so because we kind of need her to beat Graham Platner in Maine. Lisa Murkowski, out of Louisiana, Bill Cassidy. There are some grown men and women throwing some toddler fits. They're very, very upset. And they're very, very upset because the age of just looking at voters and saying, I don't care, I'm going to do what I want to do, and all of you can just go, you know, just go piss off. Yeah, that age is kind of ending. And again, despite there being a lot of negatives about some things in the populist movement, one of the good things is that it's forcing technocrats and establishmentarians to actually explain why they are doing the things. Sometimes that's a good argument. Sometimes it's a really bad argument. And sometimes you're like John Cornyn, who is really, really angry that Scott Pressler, who we've had on the show, went up to him in an airport. John Cornyn of Texas, again, who lost his seat in the runoff election to Ken Paxton, the Attorney General. And John Cornyn has been called, say, hey, Mike Lee, senator from Utah, has said, why don't you just bring the Save America Act up for the floor, up for debate on the Senate, so we can see what the 4 or 5 Republican senators who refuse to overturn the filibuster, let's actually hear the argument. Let's put it on the record. Because if we're not going to get it through, at the very least, we can get people on the record. And according to the polling, Americans are interested in this for 2026. They are interested in at least getting people on the record. So Cornyn wouldn't do that. He threw a fit. He called Pressler a grifter, and he kind of stomped off and went, come and tell me I should call for a debate. I think the best summary on this situation, on this particular one not being over, comes from our president of the Daily Signal, Rob Bluey, on CNN today, I think is a pretty good catch. Check it out.
In the case of John Cornyn, I would say just take a look a couple of hours ago, him picking a fight with Senator Mike Lee over the Save America Act. Now, John Cornyn is a sponsor of the Save America Act, but he doesn't have the backbone to stand on the Senate floor and make the Democrats debate this until they get to the point where it can pass with a simple majority vote. And so I think that you're right. This is probably going to be a challenge for President Trump and other conservatives for the months to come. But I would just encourage these lawmakers to remember that the American people are paying attention, and they expect this Republican Congress to actually get some things done, whether it be the Save America Act or another reconciliation bill.
Yeah. Again, correct. So despite the outrage, despite the panic, we still have the solution. Kamala Harris coming forward and telling us, hey, Hakeem Jeffries, he's panicking. Chuck Schumer's nowhere to be found. All of these congressmen and women running for re-election are these new candidates who are involved in every scandal on the face of this earth. Kamala Harris, she says, you know what? This is all about voting rights. And I was talking to some college students, and it's so sad.
The chair basically told us that voting was a privilege and not a right, and that the state...
Use those words?
Yes. These are amazing student leaders who work in civic engagement, who have done so much when it comes particularly to voting and our on-campus polling site.
So, first of all, yes, voting is a privilege. It is. It is a privilege to vote that can be taken away. If you commit felonies in the United States, you can lose the right to vote. You do not just have some magical human existing right to go cast a ballot. Now, in the United States, in our universal suffrage system, which is far too lax, you do, by nature of being born here, you are granted the privilege of being a citizen of the United States. And as a citizen, you have certain entitlements. Now, you should also have certain responsibilities, because in a government, the inverse of responsibility would be entitlement and privilege. So your responsibilities are what pays for your privilege, would be the idea here. But Kamala Harris is deeply, got to get in the emotional piano music here. How could someone say that you don't just get to go out and yell in the street and that we all need to take you seriously?
Protested at the local and state board elections. When they took away our polling site, we went to the front and we asked, why wasn't our polling site included? The chair's response to that was that you guys have 5 minutes to leave the premises before we call Capitol Police.
Yeah, because they didn't go about protesting the right way. They didn't file a basic petition. They didn't file a complaint. They just went there and said, hey, how come you won't let us have a polling site at a place that is clearly violating a bunch of rules on voting? A bunch of rules. Like a ton of, not just state, but federal restrictions on where you can and can't have a voting site. Electioneering being in the top 5. And they're like, well, they told us we had to leave. All we did was yell and scream.
Also try to get the word out to just make sure that everybody knew that there was an election going on and knew that they needed to go out and vote.
I'm so proud of you guys for being so powerful and committed.
Okay, well, you're not powerful. See, power would actually be having the will and the action and the stuff to do the things. I'm sorry. This is one of the things that I simply can't get over. The idea that we just start listing wonderful things. We're talking to youths. Oh, you're so powerful and wonderful and unique and amazing and great and astigmatic and photosynthesis. And it's just so great that you're here and existing in front of all of us.
And active.
You're active? You're getting your steps in a day. You're active. I saw you doing crunches behind the locker room there. Good for you.
Leadership.
This is not a time to sit back and eat popcorn and watch how things are happening. Your generation is a specific generation.
It's not. I'm just going to be a jerk here and point out that anthropologically, the group of students there are an exact blend and cut point between Generation Z and Generation I Alpha. So they're not a specific generation. Is that important? No, I just think that's funny because even when Kamala Harris just tries to say things that are important, she can't even get those things right.
That I know is going to chart the next era of our country and our world.
When you feel powerless, you tend to be powerless. When you feel powerful, you tend to be powerful.
So she's still doing her tradition of wearing, again, like the blue blazer, nice little indigo blazer. I like it. I think the shoulder pads are a bit stiff there, Cruella. But again, the white pirate shirt. Why the Kramer? She's got on the pirate shirt. Oh, she's not running for office, Jerry. Just good Lord.
And you all are powerful.
You all are powerful. Do you guys feel empowered? Do you feel super duper ultra powerful? So regarding Congress and voting in general, because these are actually some very serious questions, and we've gotten questions about this for quite a bit. Why can't we actually see a difference in the Senate? One of the reasons why that in the Senate things are so hard to move is because of the 17th Amendment of the United States Congress, of the Constitution. The 17th Amendment of the Constitution, as you know, is the direct election of senators, meaning that there was a time when your state legislatures could recall senators who weren't doing anything or who were, not alive, or like Mazie Hirono, who were not literate. And you could bring them back and toss them out. And the state legislature could bring up by a motion, by a vote, or your Commonwealth legislature could bring up a new senator to send to DC. We don't do any of that anymore. However, there is one thing I have often forgotten. Truly, there is one thing I have often forgotten as a means for you to actually change Congress. And it's not waiting around for Supreme Court decisions. It's not. It's not waiting around for elections, believe it or not. It's not. You don't have to wait for your representatives to be up every 2 years or your senators. All of this can be changed with a convention of states. So we're going to pop out to a commercial really quick. We're going to bring back in Jack McPherson. This was a really cool conversation. So you're going to see me in a different color blazer because the only time he was available was earlier this week on the convention of states. This is truly something that is still gaining momentum. Adding Kansas to the list of states applying for this Article 5 of the Constitution Convention of States, that's a recent win. And we're going to cover some of that and where we should be going, because while everyone else is doing the outrage, might as well do something useful. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast here on the Daily Signal. Don't go anywhere.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIPC.
I have now talked about repealing the 17th Amendment to the United States Constitution, the direct election of senators, so much that our comments, our emails, and yes, even the great folks at the Convention of States Foundation have reached out, said, Tony, you can't just talk about this forever without actually going through the process of what that beautiful utopia-esque vision might look like. All right, not a utopia. I'm not going to promise you that like Bernie Sanders. So we're going to bring on the great Jack McPherson to talk just a smidgen here about some of this stuff. Jack, great to have you.
Tony, thanks for having me on.
So I know there's a ton of work going on at the Convention of States Foundation. I know there's been a ton of call for an Article 5 Convention of the States. That, of course, was in a Heritage article ages ago, but it's been brought up time and time again. Break it down for us. What is an Article 5 Convention, and how does it tie into what we're talking about today?
Yeah, great. So Article 5 of the Constitution outlines two modes through which the Constitution can be amended. And we have the one way where we have the 27 amendments that we have now. Congress proposes, and then through once Congress passes it with a 2/3 vote in each house, then 3/4 of the states have to ratify. But there's also a method that has never been used before, but the founders intentionally left in the Constitution in Article 5 is the Convention of States approach. So 2/3 of the states get together, pass identical, what's called an application bill. If they pass identical application bills, then Congress is then compelled to call a convention. States then send delegates, and then they propose amendments. Of course, any amendments that come out of that convention have to be, as I said earlier, ratified by 3/4 of the states. For us at Convention of States, we are the largest national grassroots movement in the United States. We are the most successful Convention of States movement that has existed in this country so far, I would be so bold to say. And that boldness comes from the fact that we now have 20 states who have passed our application bill into law, and we only need 14 more to call that convention. So we are getting ever closer to the political Super Bowl.
So this is obviously to fix a myriad of issues that a lot of people have felt Congress has been far too lax to fix itself. And I'll see various red states, even purple states, and believe it or not, even the occasional blue state, whose state legislatures will say, hey, we've got some problems. And it just so happens that the people from the various House congressional districts, or those directly elected senators, they get to Congress and then they do a whole lot of nothing. And we're tired of this. So this is a way to actually go about, instead of just waiting for another 2-year cycle and a 6-year cycle of promises, here's a way that we actually could go about righting some of these wrongs, not permanently, but in probably the most permanent fixture the United States framers of our country set about, being amendments to the Constitution itself.
Yeah. And I have to say, I mean, working on scholarship on these matters is something that I know that Daily Signal's working on. I've actually had conversations with Rob and my staff together with his to provide some greater scholarship and light on that. And I know Heritage is working on it more broadly. And so, so great that we get to work together on building the scholarship around this, because not only would, for example, a repeal of the 17th Amendment be something that is totally, I think, would be germane to a convention of states and the vision of our application bill. But I also think about the second and third order of effects of something like that. You know, something else that you've been talking a lot about recently, everybody's been talking about a lot recently, is the widespread fraud taking place at the state level. I mean, absolutely at the federal level, but at the state level across the states. Second, third order of effects. If you have state legislatures back in control, if you will, or having a greater say in terms of their representation of the state's interests, which again is just the representation of the interests of the people via their state reps. Well, then what happens is the interest is brought down to the level of the people. So people have actually more of a buy-in to participate, not at the federal level only, but at the state level. There's greater oversight, greater interest, and so a greater potential for shedding light on fraud and bringing it to an end, which it needs to be.
And that's a great facet of that I honestly haven't thought of. And just to be clear, so that I'm not reading a script here. I'm currently on my screen is just Trump talking about Graham Platner. So like I'm not lining up anything here script wise. I've never thought about the idea that it would be a great way to combat fraud if at the state legislature level, people cared as much about their state houses as they cared about the United States Senate and what's going on in whatever C-SPAN committee fist fight brawl is happening today. And again, this matters. We've seen this in states like my own home state of Indiana. We've seen this in Virginia. We've seen this in other states. For example, South Carolina's primaries. Obviously, Maine's primaries are a different bird altogether. But individuals who are throwing out the incumbents because they feel as though at their state legislature level, regarding redistricting, for example, it's out of touch. So this is where we get down to the brass tacks, right? This is where we make the interview of substance. How do we get from here to there? How do we actually convince other states that this mystical 14 out there for the grand total of 34 to do something? Because I can bring you on, we can say a lot of niceties, and then, we can pat each other on the back and then go our separate ways. How do we actually make this happen?
Yeah. Well, first of all, never stop fighting. I mean, and I don't mean to offer that as kind of this vague cliche platitude. We have as many victories. Like, for example, we just got to 20 states. We were at 19 states for a couple of years, honestly, and then got to we passed in Kansas, in both of the houses in Kansas, and Kansas was our 20th state. That was a tremendous, tremendous victory. But we also, are not taking our losses as points of encouragement or points of discouragement. We're not taking our licks and then taking our ball and going home and quitting. We are maintaining faith in federalism and in the process, and not just faith in federalism as a system, but also what is that system built on and built around? Well, very philosophically speaking, it's built on and built around a right perspective on what the human person is and for. So we live those values out amidst all the wins and losses. Always keep our heads up, our eyes toward the horizon that we see ahead of us. Maintaining faith in the federalist system our founders gave us. So that's one. So always, keeping an eye to the political strategy of it all and being encouraged at all times. But then additionally, what effort is there, besides prayer, teaching? And that's something else. That's something that I get to do at Convention of States in particular, as I'm the managing director for all of our student education programs and initiatives. And we have our internship program, the Emerging Leaders Program, and we are expanding to offering a summer offering come next summer in 2027 Also for college students and young professionals working in DC, we're hoping to expand our fellowships. We want to have great staff and interns from organizations like yours and like Heritage and things like that. Have those people come through. But then finally, another thing that I'll indicate here and kind of tease for the audience is we are very much taking seriously the fact that we're in the education space. In a few years, we're hoping to launch a master's degree granting institution offering a master's in statesmanship. And then I'll also have one more education initiative that we're up to. It's called our Leaders Launchpad, and that is a more state-focused, political action-focused internship program. It's not paid like some of our other programs, but you get locked in with the work. So stay encouraged, keep your head above the water, above the wins and losses of it all, and be hungry for knowledge and the formation as just holistically that we offer.
I mean, again, when you're looking at a marathon style approach, that's going to have some lasting impact. And I hope that we can continue to see states added to this list. We very much appreciate it. Of course, we'll have you back very soon to talk about some of these updates, especially as states are added to this list. Jack McPherson, Convention of States Foundation. Thank you very much for giving us a couple minutes.
Tony, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
All right, let's talk very, very briefly here at the end of this long, arduous week for just a smidgen, just a quick, delightful, wondrous bit of mail time. Mail time. Mail time.
On the Tony Kinnett Cast.
So the best way to get stuff in front of our face for mail time, you head to the link in our description to our Discord, and there is a mail time channel just for questions. That way, again, and no show's special. It's got little viewer interaction time here. But what we do here at the Tony Kinnett Cast, we try to at least make it a little more organized. And we have a couple of questions from this week that I think, right here in my time and place are pretty good questions. So there are a couple of questions that are along the same line from, for example, Royce, Thrival, Hal, a couple of individuals over on the Discord asking what I actually believe about like the Trump administration and the Iran deal. You'll notice I didn't cover it this evening. And even though the vice president tweeted today, no one knows anything about the deal. People are saying, oh, it's here and it's not here. My statement yesterday was clear. We're in Schrodinger's deal territory. I have seen all of this before. Now, at this point, what do I believe the only two options are? Either the United States finishes the job or we walk away completely. There is no situation here in which there's some magical deal where people who have no morals or ethics or anything remotely related to civilization suddenly turn around and start doing all of those things. Not going to be a thing. So as to like the recovery time, which is also another facet of the question that was asked, like how long do I think it's going to be for like certain prices to go down? For basically everything except fertilizer and some industrial lubricants, which are already starting to be produced and on different routes in other places, everything's pretty much going to go back to normal, I would argue, in about a month and a half. If that. A lot of things have already changed for the long term. That's why gas prices, for example, are already going down. I mean, there are shipping companies that are signing 15-year contracts with completely different areas because they're like, why would we deal with the Strait of Hormuz at all? So again, that kind of thing will change. As far as just the oil in general, if the United States takes Karg Island, you're going to have like a week of higher gas prices, and then things are going to fall through the floor. It all depends on what the Kurds decide to do in kind of the Gulf states. But again, I'm not really giving a whole lot of details on those things because I don't necessarily believe right now there's anything extra, exciting or interesting to share with you. But do I believe that Iran is playing the United States by continuing to talk and discuss things? Yes, I do. The question is to whether they are playing the president's office or the vice president's office. And I don't think it's the president's office. But again, I don't know. That's another kind of a question for another time. And I think probably some of that is, that kind of a thing. It is kind of remains to be seen. And I will try to speculate a little bit later. And on to like whether I think that, that President Trump is throwing individuals under the bus or not throwing individuals under the bus on that stage. I think there's a lot less to it. There were a couple of super chats tonight that were very, very kind. That again, you guys do not need to give super chats here. But to answer those, Michael Seeger gave a $20 super chat and said, we purchased one of the 13 Canon tenor saxophones engraved for the 250th birthday of the USA for my son. He named it the Sax Heard Round the World, and he got the 13th of those engraved saxophones. That's awesome. I'm thrilled to hear that. I saw two pieces of, two reels today that I know were targeted at my very ADHD shenanigans. One would be from the train company Norfolk Southern, the other from CSX, that both introduced like 250th anniversary themed locomotives. So very, very, very cool stuff. I think that is really neat. I love that kind of a thing. So that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. From John Nabel, a $5 super chat said, Elon Musk's Democrats are so against an African American due to his skin color. There is an element of truth to that. Like, how many individuals who come from Africa, who are from Egypt or from South Africa or from several other sub-Saharan, East African, and then Southern Africa countries that are white or do not look as though they are people of color or whatever that means, and they're despised. Because it's assumed that if you're coming from Africa and you're not black as pitch, then therefore you must be a colonizer, and that's stupid. And you watch too much Black Panther by Marvel, Wakanda Forever. So anyway, that's that said and aside, there is one question that I also wanted to share from the email side of things. It's from a guy named Bill, and I will leave his last name out of it because he's rather salty. He says, "Dear Tony, I don't even know who Tom Tillis is, but saying that he may have been as useful as a doorstop makes you sound like a juvenile moron. I sure hope that you are more intelligent than your attempts at sarcastic humor indicate. It's dumbfounding that you think you would attract people from Victor Hansen's podcast to listen to you. Sincerely, Bill X." Okay, so if you don't know the most prominent and controversial of Republican senators on the East Coast other than Senator Lindsey Graham on like a political analysis show, we've outlined who Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina is a lot, given that he's one of the primary people who are against overturning the filibuster. We've outlined that every time. So if you're going to criticize yours truly, again, a lot of great reasons to criticize me. I'd be happy to go first. But saying that you really don't think that our level of intelligence on the podcast is great enough for suggesting someone might be useless, I agree with you. I don't think that Tom Tillis is as useful as a doorstop, given that Democrats walk right through him all the time. So if you don't like sarcasm and it took you to whatever point in the show that was to figure it out, my dude, I'm a sarcastic Hoosier. And one of the people who enjoys that about me is Victor Davis Hansen. So that said, thanks for tuning in. And try to be more useful than a doorstop. Ah, what a fun Friday. What a good time. What great enjoyment of it all. We will be back on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, for a lot more of the news and analysis. That's right. With the impressions that I do too many of, with the sarcasm that fills every nook and cranny, from the same white bearded guy with glasses who looks like every other conservative pundit and newscaster. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this is the Tony Kinnett Cast on the Daily Signal, nationally syndicated and first on 93 WIBC. Y'all, take care.